Hey guys, my name is Nick and welcome back to the channel, and I am back properly live after my business trip. I've just been away for just about 10 days now in California, which was very busy, very hectic, and I didn't get to read even a single codex, even though I took a couple of codexes and a white dwarf with me. Yeah, very busy, very long days, up at 6 AM, getting back to the hotel at 8 PM, then rushing to dinner, and then trying to get some sleep for the next day. So very busy. But hopefully you enjoyed the videos that I did pre-record for you guys whilst I've been gone. But now I'm back, we are back full swing painting once again, and in this video we are going to be going through the Poxwalker painting guide. So yeah, I've got 20 Poxwalkers which came from the Dark Imperium box set, and I'll be adding those to my Nurgle / Plague Marine army for the Death Guard. And yeah, this video is going to cover exactly how I'm painting these guys up. So let's crack straight into the video. Now, as with my other recent videos on my Demons of Nurgle, we're starting with a white base coat. And I use the Vallejo white surface primer for that through my airbrush, but obviously you can use Corax white spray or Army Painter equivalent. And the first wash we're going to be applying is Reikland Fleshshade. Now, for me, Poxwalkers are kind of like your typical zombies from any kind of like Walking Dead, that kind of thing. So potentially once human. But yeah, they're now a bit disease-ridden. They've now got a bit crazy. So, starting off with some kind of human-y-esque shade to sort of see where they've come from is the aim of the game here. So, an all-over flesh shade, and I've applied 2 coats of that. So, allow the first one to dry and then apply a second one because it is quite a light wash. Making sure that you know, to make these sort of boils and pustules and stuff sort of begin to pop. A second shade really does help with that detailing. You can see there, I've now allowed that to fully dry. And we're now going to move on to Athonian Camoshade. Now this is a green glaze or a green wash, and I'm going to carefully apply that to where all the boils and pustules are. So this is kind of, you know, using that Reikland Fleshshade, the darker bit of the shading that goes around all those pustules is kind of enhanced and turned into a greener shade, but still makes it kind of dark in the places you want it to be dark, and lighter over the tops of the boils and pustules. Now, I'm also applying it to all of the bony protrusions as well. So yeah, it kind of forms a bit of a green tinge to those areas and makes him look like he's got a really bad dose of the flu. And yeah, it just kind of begins to make him a bit more Nurgle. Now, green obviously is the colour of Nurgle, as we all know. So just having these sort of tinges on the bone sections and on those boils begins to sort of make him look like he belongs in a Nurgle demon army. So yeah, just carefully applying that to all the sort of bone sections. On this particular one, he's got sort of bones for fingers now, and his left hand is still sort of vaguely human. And as you can see, once that dries, you can see that sort of bone colour really, well, the green colour begin to sort of make a big impact on the model. So we can now move on to some of the other details while that sort of I think it was a little bit wet when I just took these images, but we can move on to some of the other details. I like to make sure that I'm concurrently progressing each section of the model while things dry. So we can move on. What I'm doing here is going in for sort of prisoner overalls kind of look. So these might have been conscripted and then rounded up by the forces of Nurgle and given some sort of orange overalls as their uniform. So all of the models in this force are going to have this brown Guantanamo Bay kind of effect. So they're all going to have orange cloth to sort of unify the unit as well. So instead of being completely disjointed, even though they may have had, you know, their human clothes on before, I've gone with this this orange overall that's kind of been ripped off them all over the place. So 2 coats of orange is required. Orange is quite a thin colour no matter what brand you take. It is a little bit translucent, so to make sure you get good coverage, I've gone with 2 coats of that. And while that's sort of beginning to dry, I can move on to their footwear. Now, not all of the Poxwalkers have boots on, but those that do, I've gone with the brown shade that I'm using here, and just to sort of paint in those boots. Some of them have all got either tentacles or other things sticking out instead of feet, but anywhere that's got boots, yeah, this got the brown effect. Now, while that was beginning to dry, we can move on to some of the detail on his weapon. So he's kind of got a bit of a bodged X-flamethrower kind of thing going on here. So all metalwork, I'm going with a chainmail silver. and then that's given a nice shade of Nuln Oil a bit later on. You can also see I've actually painted in a bronze colour on the weapon tip there. I didn't actually record that section, I just sort of was in the flow when I was making the model itself and started painting him, but you can see all I've done is just use a Brassy Brass colour on the end of there. Now this model has a number of sort of belts and ammo pouches or pockets or whatever on the on his sort of overalls there, so around his belt kit I'm just going to paint these in as a black leather effect. So just taking out Vallejo's black that I've got here. The airbrush version of this is actually quite thin, so this again required 2 coats, but if you're using a non-airbrush version, 1 coat would probably suffice. And once that's done, you can see all the black effect is now in on his belt and on those little pouches that he has around him. Some of the other Poxwalkers have got sort of shoulder straps and other bits across them, so just make sure that when you're doing your other models that you catch all of those black areas. So while that was all sort of beginning to dry, I could make a start on the base. Now obviously I'm painting up a full army, so this base is exactly the same as all the other demon models that I've done so far, so the Nurglings and the Plague Bearers. So we're starting with this Charred Brown colour, and then we can move on and paint the rim in Earth Brown, and then we'll lightly dry brush that in Khaki, and then we can apply all of the hedgehog food that I'm using for my basing. So all the mealworms and bugs and things that I'm putting on the bases just to make sure that it's a concurrent and thematic base across every model. So as I said, just putting on the Earth Brown around the rims. Obviously your rim colour will fit your own army, but this is the one I'm going with just to keep the sort of muted effect across the entire force. Now clearly on my trip I have seemingly forgotten how to YouTube fully with these painting guides, and you'll notice that those orange trousers were given a wash of Agrax Earthshade. Now I didn't video that for some bizarre reason, but 2 coats of Agrax Earthshade but no highlights, deliberately to make it look like they're properly dirty and grimy, and I think any highlighting would probably detract a little bit from it, so I wanted to make sure that they just looked a mess, and that was the sort of the aim of the effect that I was going for there. But you can see the rest of these photos, you can see how some of the individuals came out, and then finally a lovely group shot of all 20 following these hints and tips. And the eagle-eyed amongst you, you'll notice there's a slight purple tinge to some of these as well. So some of the other models where I wanted to sort of introduce some bruising effect of where all these bones and pieces are protruding from their skin. So I used a little bit of Druchii Violet in the same way that I did for the Plague Bearers. So if you want to go back and catch that video up, that would be cool. And then you can see exactly how that sort of purple tinge was applied to sort of put in an effect of bruising where, you know, these nasty mutations are occurring on their skin. But other than that, that is the final group shot of all 20 complete. So there we go then guys, that is the end of the video and my painting guide to Poxwalkers. Now, vaguely kind of simplistic in their approach. The key is getting your washes right and making sure that they all flow and don't pull and everything else, and they make the detail pop. So for me, keeping these guys simple, they are pretty much cannon fodder in your army and used to sort of bulk out your detachments with cheap troops choices. So if you want to make these sort of golden demon entries, then be my guest. I think I've taken these to a level of detail that is above tabletop in my opinion. You may disagree, you may agree, who knows, that's for you to decide in the comment section below. But for me, these are perfectly good and adequate for the tabletop, and looking forward to getting these into the army very, very soon. But I hope you enjoyed the video, hope you learned something new, hope you can apply these techniques to your own Poxwalkers, and if you did, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more content very soon. And I'll catch you guys on the next video.